Good morning, afternoon, potentially evening. Been a long time since I've streamed. A long time. I haven't checked, but could possibly be more than a year. COVID has kind of killed a lot of my opportunities to stream just because everybody's in the house at all times. But I'm trying to try one again. I'm back. Trying some stuff. Let me know if there's any technical issues, since it's been a long time since I've done this, so I am rusty as all heck. I am here today to look at Creature Feature Volume 6, specifically for 5th edition. I have looked at one of the other creature features, or maybe I think one and a preview for one of the creature features a while back. Once this gets onto YouTube proper, I will update the description to put a link to that video in case you're interested. They're really cool, very well illustrated. I believe that's, let's see, written and illustrated by Jeremy Hart, who was kind enough to send me this one. He currently has a volume 7 that has funded on Kickstarter, but there's a few days left to get in there if that interests you. But he sent me this one. Obviously, he sent it to me, so I didn't have to pay for it, but that's basically the only thing. There's no controls on what I will say or what I will talk about or anything like that. He just said, hey, you looked at the other one. Would you like to look at this one? Because I got some other projects brewing. And I said, sure. One day when I'm a fat cat, I'll be able to extort mountains of money for this sort of work. But for now, I just do it because I like to do it. And I like to hopefully share it with other folks who may get something interesting out of it. And hopefully that will be you. And if it's not you, I apologize already. Okay. There I'm sitting on the table of contents. Looks like we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 creatures, then an appendix, and then the OGL. Everybody needs the OGL all the time. Always, all the time. Okay, well, I guess we'll just get into it. I don't know if I will do all of these. I'm not sure exactly how much time I have, but I want to obviously give you a good flavor of what's in here. I know that Jeremy said that he has made some updates in some of the earlier ones, just sort of tweak things. I haven't looked at this. If this is the first time you've watched one of these for me, I don't look at these. This is me as if I've gone into a gaming store and picked up a book off the shelf and just started flipping through it. So I haven't previewed it. I haven't looked at all these. This table of contents is about as far as I've gotten. I try to keep it just fresh. So take that for whatever it is. It's basically a, hey, if you're in the store and something caught your eye and you wanted to look at it and just see, do I want to take it to the register and pay for it, or do I want to slide it back on the shelf and pick up something else? That's kind of the approach I take. So let's just get into it. Let's see. Oops. There we go. Barkida. Now, the last time I looked at these, I'm remembering off the hands, he does sort of full page illustrations. So I believe probably on the next page, I guess I should just flip forward and see, will be the illustration of this creature. There it is. And something I liked about these, I remember from the last time, is so you have the creature and then you also have the silhouette of, your essential ye old adventurer, giving you a nice visual scale as to the size of the creature as compared to your adventure. So you could quickly look at that. I think he did them in this way, if I'm remembering correctly from some of the feedback he gave me on the last video, was that you could basically do this kind of handout style. And I believe there's also in the download from DriveThru, there's a whole bunch of files, and I believe that it has at least some stuff for your virtual tabletop of choice. So there are some digital tools for you. You choose to use them. Anyhow, let's go back to the actual description. But I feel like all of his creatures have a really cool, weird sense to them. And I really like the black and white ink style of his work. This thing looks like it's got no eyes, huge ears, and just a big mouth. All right, so this is a large fiend, chaotic evil. Let's see. I'm just gonna try. I don't feel like. I mean, I don't think I need to run down every little thing here, right? I want to get to the really interesting stuff. Okay, so it's immune to poison and immune to the poisoned condition. It's got blind sight, so I guess it is blind. Speaks abyssal, but also has telepathy. This is CR4. Here we go. Standing leap. The Barkida. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. Someone can let me know if I'm not. The Barkida's long jump is up to 60 feet, and its high jump is up to 20 feet, with or without a running start. All right, so this guy can really jump around, as they say. Got a great sword. He can make 2 great sword attacks. He's got a bite. The bite do anything particularly cool? Yes, it does. Okay, so if a target is bitten, they must succeed on a DC 14 con saving throw or become poisoned. Okay, so just a poison. Oh, but here we go. Mirror image. 3 illusory duplicates of the Barkida appear within its space. Duplicates move with and mimic its actions, shifting position, so it's impossible to track which image is real. Okay, so it's just basically your mirror image, essentially. Still, it's an interesting wrinkle. Sort of goes against expectations, right? You don't think of a brute like that having an ability that I always associate with kind of squishy creatures. You know, the wizards casting mirror image and that sort. Kind of cool. I don't know if it does. Well, let's see. There's multiple pages attached to this. All right. So it says pages 1 through 4, and this is only page 1. The picture is page 2. I'm just curious if there's a story behind it, if this is a creature that's made up from whole cloth, or if it's got kind of a folklore background. I think we're going to get some more, not necessarily on where if it's an Earth equivalent creature from Tales of Legend, but just some more about it. So there's the picture again. Here we have the description. Large muscular humanoid, about twice the size of a human. Nothing of a face beyond a gaping maw full of short, tearing fangs. It's a nice turn of phrase. Head is a lumpen mass of flesh. And its powerful legs end in feet reminiscent of a raptor. Grips a massive curving greatsword. The unnatural and fearsome mien of the being seems to indicate some fiendish origin, likely abyssal, which is exactly what it is. Let's see, it exudes menace, will attack immediately, is surprisingly fast. Creature is reasonably intelligent and capable of communication. Creatures are known as Barkida. Not known from what tongue that name comes from or what it means. Many sages speculate they are demonic assault troops. They are tough, mobile, and disposable. They can leap incredible distances with little effort, and their bite contains a toxic venom. Additionally, they can repeatedly conjure a minor image illusion that makes them appear to multiply before the enemy. Not only is it sow discord throughout the enemy ranks, but it also obfuscates the demon, lending it an additional layer of defense. Yes, it does. Okay, the motivations of demon kind are universal and simple to bring as much chaos and strife as possible. Very true. All right. And then we get a little bit on ecology here. They're not mortal creatures. They do not need to eat, sleep, drink, or breathe unless they choose to. And they can basically be found anywhere, even though their origin is in the abyss. And then what's on the final page? Let's see, okay, some seeds. So these are just some interesting ways you can get these things into your game, or some little, not clues is the right word, I guess, little adventure hooks, or just something to feed your imagination. Let's read the first one. A powerful warlock has summoned a host of Barkida and sent them forth into the kingdom to foment strife for his patron. The warlock aims to destroy the religions of the kingdom to make way for a cult devoted, if there's a typo, devoted to his patron. There have been ongoing attacks upon the temples of all deities within the kingdom. Additionally, the trade routes in and out are routinely set upon. Supplies are running low and winter is nearing. Winter is coming. The kingdom has sent out the call for heroes to aid them in their time of need. All right, so that's a good overall adventure arc. You could have the Barkita as the enemy, or at least the main troops of the enemy. And of course, you can always seed in other demonic creatures to spice things up. So here's the second one. The party is tracking an arch necromancer wanted for several heinous crimes across the lands. In the course of their pursuit, they have fought wave after wave of animated cadavers day and night. They are weary, body and soul, to end this fiend and her malignant reign of terror. And now, finally, the Carrion Queen's tower darkens the horizon and the party's spirit begins to lift. But before they can even attempt to breach the tower, several Barkita leap down upon them from the battlements. So whereas the first one was more of an adventure kind of seed, the second one is essentially an encounter seed. Obviously, you can swap out those things for anything else you want. Really, it's just right. If we were to take out the parts about the necromancer, really, it's you're coming up to a spot and hear the Barkita demonstrate their jumping ability by jumping in, and you could tie that into wherever they're fighting. Makes the most sense, maybe if they have some kind of demonic thing, but you could obviously reskin these for any kind of minion. And of course, maybe the demons just take interest in whomever the party is facing just because. Why not? Some foment more discord. So that's the Barkita. Interesting. Again, I really like the look. The mirror image is nice. I think probably my favorite thing about there is giving them that leaping ability. It's something you can really work into encounters. Like in that encounter seed, they can demonstrate the leaping ability once by leaping in, jumping down from somewhere, showing kind of the power of that. And then obviously they could use it in the encounter. Great for getting over frontline guys to get to the squishy back row and force the party to really adapt if they can take a 60-foot leap and basically get over whichever fighter type or barbarian was trying to stand in their way. All right. And here we have a little section on loot. They don't need much in the way of wealth, so they don't tend to build any sort of hoard. However, their sword, although non-magical, is quite impressive and composed of some weird abyssal iron. It might fetch up to 300 to 500 gold pieces from the right buyer. Okay, that's a cool little note. I like that because that will definitely come up if they fight some of them and succeed. And there's some of these great swords lying around. Of course, the party's going to try to grab them and sell them, so that gives you an idea of what they are and how much money they might fetch. And apologies if you're hearing a lot of background noise. I have the window open because it is nice and cool, and my apartment building is still pumping in the heat. So one issue is obviously that I hear the beeps and the bloops and all the stuff from the street because I'm only on the second floor, but hopefully it's not too bad. All right, let's see what's next. We've got the chirper. Let's take a look at the chirper. Whoa. Another big boy, 4 arms, kind of what would you call that? A lizard-like face. Very creepy. All right, let's hit up the chirper. I'm interested. That the picture got me interested. I kind of feel it's one of those things, right? Just for me, and it's really just for reading them like this. Because if it was in a book form, I presume that the image and the thing would be facing each other, right? Because I'm doing it sort of vertically. I see the description first and then the picture. But of course, there's my cat in the background. Yes, Betty. I can't help you right now, Betty. I got things to do, Betty. You're gonna have to figure it out on your own. All right. I'm not sure if you could hear her, but my cat is very vocal. She's the most talkative cat I've ever known. All right, back to the chirper. So we've got, let's see, large monstrosity, chaotic evil, also CR4. Features: it's an ambusher. The chirper has advantage on attack rolls against any creature it has surprised. Blind senses. Can't use its blind sight while deafened and unable to smell. Is that something that comes up in a lot of stuff? I mean, it's kind of interesting, right? Are there a lot of things that take away deafening and smell at the same time? But I guess that's something that your party could learn about it, which kind of gives it a little wrinkle. Maybe they could roll some kind of knowledge check, or somebody else could tell them that if you can deafen them and somehow negate their smell that bothers them. Blood Frenzy. Sherpa has advantage on melee attack rolls against any creature that doesn't have all its hit points. Interesting. This is where I really like the bloodied state that 4th edition had. It, if I'm thinking of it correctly, when you got down to half hit points, I think it was half, you would gain this kind of bloodied status. I didn't look at it like you're really like you were cut open deeply or anything. I always thought of it as that kind of Hollywood sense. That first time in the fight, where one of the guys who's fighting will wipe their mouth or something and or their nose and realize they've been bloodied. The fight is hard enough that that either their mouth is bleeding or their nose is bleeding or they have some little cut or something, just to kind of show them that, oh, they're in some sort of jeopardy. And in 4th edition, that was bloodied, and the different creatures and different abilities kind of triggered off whether the creature, it could be a creature ability that triggered when it was bloodied. It could trigger off of when something else was bloodied. But it was that kind of point in the battle when someone would, at least the way my group played it when we were playing 4th edition, was that we were playing in person at the time, and with minis, and so we would have, I think it was a red poke chip or something that we would slide under the figure or put on top of it depending on size and whatnot, but you'd get this kind of visual marker that up there bloodied, and it always led to a lot of either good feelings if this was an enemy creature that was bloodied, or of course a little bit of trepidation if one of us was getting bloodied. So for that blood frenzy, seeing as that you could be down 1 hit point and automatically have disadvantage and everything, I might just, and again, it's CR4. I'm not great on the whole CR balancing thing, but I would have liked to have tied that to kind of bloodied, which for me would have been half hit points. But maybe this is one of the main things they can do, so that's what it is. But that's a pretty big deal, because you could enter the battle with less than all your hit points just starting out, and then boom, this guy's got advantage on you all the way. So something you definitely want to be prepared for. It's got keen hearing and smell. Got advantage on wisdom checks that rely, perception checks, I guess, that rely on hearing or smell. All right. It's sensitive to sunlight. This thing wants to be in the dark. It's got, let's see, action attack. It's got a bite. It's got a claw. Do they do anything interesting? Okay, it does. It's another poison attack, and the bites and the claw. Let's see. 1 target. Slashing damage. Additionally, if the target is large or smaller, it is grappled. All right, so it can claw. So it gets 3 claw attacks and the bite, and if it hits with one of those claw attacks, any one of them, you are grappled. So that could be pretty rough. I mean, that's one of those, hey, claw, bite, and boy, if that first claw gets you, you could be in a world of hurt. I wonder if this one actually would make sense, that leaping ability. I wonder if they will explain how it will ambush. Just get another look at it. Obviously, it is big, and yeah, I mean, look, those claws themselves look like they could easily wrap around the old human's body. So, yeah, I could see that. Skinny legs, though, it keeps this creature does not really go and work. Keeps missing those leg days. You gotta work those calves. All right, so here's the official description: a tall, gangly albino thing with a gaping mouth full of nasty looking teeth. It appears reptilian, but also has some insectile or possibly arachnid features. It has 6 limbs. It stands on 2 lean, bestial legs that seem built for sprinting and leaping. It has 4 arms organized into 2 sets. The upper set appears to be stronger and somewhat larger. The lower set seems smaller and more suited to finer manipulation. All of its limbs end in filth-encrusted claws. Go get yourself a manicure, please. The skin of the creature is the color of dirty bone. I don't like that. Dirty bone. What is the color of dirty bone? I'm not sure, but it is very evocative as a phrase. Perhaps it is a weird subterranean abomination that rarely sees daylight. It has multiple pink eyes set deep in wide orbits on each side of its skull. Its head bobs and weaves in an almost owl-like manner. It appears not to be aware of your presence. Occasionally, a long forked tongue flicks out of its mouth to scent the air. It also chirps and chirrups in a soft, rasping voice. Very descriptive. I like that very much. And very evocative again. It definitely has that reptilian look. We were just my family was just at the Bronx Zoo a few weeks ago, and we saw the Komodo dragon, and definitely that watching it just sitting in a small display thing, but the way it was sort of flicking out its tongue, just flicking it out its tongue and just tasting the air. So long as the party is in an illuminated area and remains silent as well as motionless, the creature cannot detect them. But the moment they move or make a sound, it will charge at them. Why in an illuminated area? It doesn't see particularly well. Or is it just because it wants to stay out of the light? Good questions we will have to leave for our own. All right, they're known simply as chirpers, named for their soft chirping vocalizations. It's a bit of a dark humor, though. It makes them seem innocuous, but this could not be further from the truth. They are vicious underdark predators that are completely aggressive, wholly carnivorous, and totally fearless. All right, I'm just going to skip down. So they got a bunch of different things. They're nimble, they're strong, but they're not such a threat individually. A well-armed party can dispatch one chirper with little chance of casualties. That might be depending on your level. I don't know. If he gets in there first, claw, bite. I don't know. That might be some casualties there. But you don't want to encounter several of them. In large groups, they can be fearsome combatants. Luckily, these creatures also tend to be cannibalistic, and therefore encountering groups of them is rare. Okay. They're not very smart, but they do speak a bit of Undercommon. And they do have a culture, but they don't have tool use. They've got some concept of spirituality. I like that. Scrawled drawings upon the walls of their den are testimony to what might be their deity, a great toothy maw. I like that. Doesn't have to give details, doesn't have to tie it to a particular deity, but just gives you an idea. You can pick one or create one if you wanted to. What they might consider a giant open mouth, like them, filled with sharp teeth. All right, the ecology, right? They're subterranean predators. Let's get to them seeds. The party's taking a rest near some caves. Throughout the day, they often hear weird chirping sounds echoing in the caves themselves and in the rocky terrain surrounding their campsite. A chirper has developed an interest in them, but will not attack until darkness falls. Okay. So this one would be, I guess, an encounter concept, not in the Underdark itself. Potentially, it could be near an entrance to the Underdark. And that would actually work. Obviously, they don't mention it here, but you could work this into if you were in a situation where you wanted your party to find an entrance to the Underdark. You could have some caves, and the caves would obviously lead to some tunnel, which would then lead down the Underdark. And you have one of these guys attack them, assuming they hang around there till dark. And then once the party theoretically dispatches it and potentially is curious about what this thing is, then that becomes your I don't know if seed's the right word, but you can intro them into the Underdark, because they could either make some rolls and make some determinations on their own, or they could potentially take the carcass or part of it back to town. And then someone could tell them, my gosh, these things usually are found deep in the Underdark. What is it doing here? And then, of course, they investigate. What do they find? They find some heretofore unknown entrance to the Underdark. Here's the second one. The party has been contracted by an NPC such as a wizard or eccentric noble to seek out a chirper den and steal some of its eggs. The NPC wants to raise the creature in captivity to study it. The NPC is willing to pay an enticingly exorbitant fee. This one, kind of like the other one, right? We got a mix of encounter ideas and adventure seeds. This latter one, the second one, whoa, the second one is clearly an adventure seed. It could be another thing to get you to the Underdark, or it could be just that these things are in some caves near the surface. Let's see. So now we just get some loot. They don't need not much in the way of wealth. However, they are cunning beings who recognize which, I would say who, recognize that civilized folk and adventurers are drawn to shiny baubles, so they will build whatever trove they are capable of to bait their traps. So that's an interesting idea. The quality of items in the trove is generally cheap, but always looks impressive, perhaps even gaudy. The whole trove is likely to have a value of 300 to 500 gold pieces in assorted coins, gems, and items. Ooh, additionally, there is a 25% chance the hoard contains D3. Would that be 1D3? Common magic items. Not too shabby, I suppose, if you want to go through it. So one of these interesting things, like how do they? So okay, they have this plan of making kind of fake hoards, fake hoards. Yeah, I guess a fake hoard of loot. But how do they get the word out? Right? How does one publicize any sort of loot hoard? It's particularly if it turns out it's a fake loot hoard or a not very good loot hoard. Do they need a publicist? Is there's some kind of social media campaign? Do they go and hire some folk to spread rumors about their hoards to try to draw people in? Intriguing. I have questions that need answering. All right, so let's skip. Let's see. There's the Krona Cat, another big guy. It's gonna go the Fellsworn. Fellsworn, everybody. Fellsworn. Let's see. So let's go. So I'm just gonna skip a few here. Ooh, Ferrum Tempestus. Whoa, this guy's huge. All right, let's look at the Ferrum Tempestus. Now the street cleaner's coming through, so apologies if you hear any loud noises. See if I can close my window. Street cleaner coming and street cleaner going. All right. Hopefully that wasn't too noisy. The Ferrum Tempestus is a large construct, unaligned. Armor class 18, got a bunch of hit points. It's resistant to a bunch of damages, immune to a bunch of conditions. It's got dark vision. It understands common but can't speak. It does have telepathy. This is a CR 10. It's got magic resistance. Actions. Got 2 claws. 10-foot reach. Let's see, it's got haste. Until the end of his next turn, the Ferrum Tempestus gains a +2 bonus to armor class, has advantage on dex saving throws, and can make an extra melee attack as a bonus action. Its movement is doubled, so this thing looks like it's big, clunky, and slow, but it can hit that haste and give you quite the shock. That would definitely be an interesting twist the first time in a battle it throws out haste, and all of a sudden you could describe it as sort of its mechanisms or gears kind of all of a sudden clicking into a new gear, almost like a bike. The cogs and whatnot sort of realign, and then for a period of time it seems to just become zippy. And of course, looking at the size of it, that would be fairly scary. All right. Let's see. I'm more interested in the. Let's see if there's any. He's got some good turns of phrases in these descriptions. I don't know if I want to read it all the way through, but let's see. What might be its head is seated in the middle of its torso between 2 large pauldrons and beneath a large chimney. One could safely assume this thing to be a construct of some sort. Its huge gauntleted hands end in large blade-like claws. Its movements are slow, heavy, and ponderous, accompanied by the screeching grind of metal on metal. So that definitely, right, it's going to set an expectation switcheroony when this thing all of a sudden turns on that haste. And here, I guess it continues where we're going to get into sort of his description of when that he does kick that haste in. Okay, a few minutes after noticing the party, gouts of black smoke belch from the chimney of the construct, and it surges towards you with a surprising burst of speed and agility. Where once it was a plodding hunk of metal, now it is rushing toward you with the keen and murderous intent, its lethal bladed hands slashing like scythes, eager for a bloody harvest. It's interesting that they give it this murderous intent. So I usually don't think of that with construct. I think of them as being, basically disinterested. They're just doing it because that's the command they were given. But this thing seems to have attitude. But probably the best part about that is I like the description of when that haste kicks in, and it gives you something as a GM that you can latch onto when that moment comes in. And even during the battle, you could talk about how when the haste wears up, the smoke kind of clears a bit, or the chimney goes quiet, and then when that haste kicks in again, a resurgence, more plumes of this black belch. All right. They're known as Ferrum Tempestus or Iron Whirlwind. They're constructs compared to iron golems. However, these machines are less durable than iron golems and much more intelligent. Some sages speculate they may even have a mind of their own. All right. Ecology. Right. They're constructs. They don't need anything. They do seem to deteriorate. They're typically encountered in an area they are charged with guarding. However, unlike true golems, once they are freed from their master's will, they can leave their designated task and explore the world. So they could have their own intent. All right, let's get to the seeds. The seeds are kind of my favorite parts. I mean, I love the illustrations. I feel like a lot of them are clever, but I really always like to see the creativity or just the ideas of how these things can be thrown in a world or what can be done with them. In the bowels of an ancient and abandoned wizard's tower, the party encounters a Ferrum Tempestus. The construct's master died centuries ago, and it has been trapped here ever since. Would prefer to be out in the world exploring, but has been unable to exit the tower due to the narrow stairways and doorways. Although the construct is exceedingly angry at the loss of liberty and in an enraged state, the party may be able to communicate with it, and if they manage to free it from the tower, may acquire a useful ally. Okay, so this one, maybe not quite a whole adventure, though I suppose it could be, but definitely an interesting encounter idea. What I like about this one is it's not combat focused. It could be if the party plays it wrong, dice being what they will, but it really has options for the party to look at this and address it in different ways, and not necessarily, okay, this guy drops from the ceiling, roll initiative and go. It's okay, you see this thing, it's clearly pissed off, but it also has a goal, and the party can leverage that goal that it has to create a different solution, and then a different sort of prize at the end of it. Maybe there's nothing in the tower that you would gain really from defeating it, but if you get an ally that you could potentially call upon, that's pretty darn valuable, potentially. And then the second seed, a powerful wizard has contracted the party to seek out a secretive cabal in a distant kingdom. The wizard believes the cabal has the necessary tomes, tools, and formulae to construct a Ferrum Tempestus. The wizard wants the party to deliver a message to the cabal requesting construction of a Ferrum Tempestus on the wizard's behalf. Unfortunately for the party, the cabal does not take kindly to strangers and does not know them or the wizard they work for. This will likely lead to an early demise for the party at the hands of many frighteningly efficient murder machines if they cannot think on their feet. So this one definitely, right, this is an adventure seed. You're sent to get one of these. It's the prize. It could also potentially be one of the opponents. Could be scary if there's a cabal that's been able to create a bunch of these. Was it it made me think immediately of the Golden Army from Hellboy 2 kind of thing. Obviously not as invincible, but just basically. And, it's up to you to take that and flesh it out. I think, well, what if the party got a hold of that? I think a lot of enterprising parties might just want to cut out that wizard middleman and just think, well, if we could take over this cabal or have them work for us, we could have them creating these things for our use. But yeah, there's a lot of room there for different things for them to do. And then the loot doesn't have any concept of wealth or material possessions, but if it's encountered in its lair, there's a 50% chance of finding assorted treasure up to 3,500 gold in value. And I don't know why the D4. I just kind of do people really? I don't know. I like 1D4 or 1D whatever, not just the D, but 1 to 4 uncommon magic items. All right. The Nash arrow, finally, something that's small. I kind of like that nose. It's kind of a somewhat bat, but also has a skeletal thing. But I want to get kind of a. Let's get through some more of this Heliofant. Another forearm, another huge. So boy, this guy's ginormous. I like that. I like that helmet. All right, let's see what else we have. The Kodan. Oh, that's kind of cool. Kodan. Let's see what else we have. The Magma Thrall. Another massive beastie. What is that? It's an elemental. All right, let's read about the Magma Thrall. Trying to hit some different creature types, just get a bit of the flavors of everything. So we a couple of big guys. We got a construct. We had a fiend. So let's look at an elemental. Large, neutral, vulnerable to cold, resistant to a bunch of other things, immune to poison, immune to several conditions. Got dark vision. See, languages it cannot speak, but it understands Ignan and Terran, and it's got telepathy. This is a CR8. Let's see the features. It's got a fire aura. At the start of its turns, each creature within 5 feet of it takes 3d6 fire damage, and flammable objects in the aura that aren't being worn or carried ignite. But if they are being worn or carried, they don't ignite. Is that a 5th edition thing? Seems like a weird distinction. Like, why is it if you're wearing it, it won't ignite, but if you're... Well, what does that mean if it's being worn or carried? Flammable objects in the aura that aren't being worn or carried. I don't know. Maybe it's a 5th edition thing with flammable auras, but I would have thought, like, wouldn't it just ignite anyway? I'm trying to think what those would be. I suppose that's environmental stuff, because if it's not stuff on the adventure, that would all be stuff they're carrying. Or am I thinking that too deeply? And if it's in your backpack or something, that would ignite, but your backpack wouldn't ignite? I don't know. But I like stuff igniting. Creature that touches the Magma Thrall or hits it with a melee attack while within 5 feet of it takes fire damage. So time to get out those pole arms and long spears and those 10-foot reach weapons. It's got a great axe. It makes 2 great axe attacks. I usually don't think of elementals with weapons, so that's kind of a cool little twist. All right, just does slashing damage plus fire damage. And it has 10-foot reach. So even if you want to dance outside that 5-foot range to get out of the aura, it can still hit you. What I would maybe want to do is give it some kind of weapon. This to me just screams for having some kind of weapon with like a hook or something on the end of it. And if you're hit with it, it drags you in to that 5-foot range. That might be a modification I would make to this for my own usage, so that it's continually trying to pull you into its that aura. Again, we got the picture. It's just interesting too, because it doesn't really look like an elemental. I mean, in the classic sense of elementals just being kind of blobs of material from the plane that they're from. I'm guessing on the next page we'll get some little story about that. But it's a nice twist. Here we go. An immense figure clad in black, heavy plate armor and wielding a massive great axe. It stands about twice the height of a large human. Fiery red glow can be seen behind the grills of its helm and along the seams of its armor. Its outline is shimmery and indistinct, almost as if an incredible heat emanates from it, which it does. Let's see. Creatures will attack if it has reason to. Its creator ordered it to defend this area, or if the party is threatening the creature with violence. If the creature has no reason to attack the party, it may simply observe them. It's not inherently hostile, but it is a dutiful servant. However, if this being has survived the death of its creator, it will be much more aggressive. All right. Let's get to the lore. These creatures are known as magma thralls. They are often mistaken for constructs, but they are, in fact, magma elementals bound to suits of enchanted adamantine full plate. The armor is a vessel which contains their volcanic form. Okay, that's cool. I like that. They are incredibly tough opponents. The armor is naturally durable and heavily enchanted. Additionally, the elemental within the armor is invulnerable to many forms of attack. Further, they radiate enough heat to severely burn any who approach them, which we saw from the power description earlier on. Luckily, because the adamantine armor is perpetually superheated, it can become brittle if struck with freezing temperatures. All right, that's nice. I like that. That's a cool little twist there, right? It explains that vulnerability. Okay, magma elementals are summoned and bound through a complex ritual. An enchantment within the armor keeps the magma elemental under the control of its summoner indefinitely. But if for some reason the creator of a magma thrall is slain and the elemental is not released, it will run amok until destroyed. Amok time for the elemental. Once the armor is destroyed, the elemental is set free to return to its home plane. Well, let's see. We got a little ecology. The magma thralls are elemental creatures that draw their energy from the primal forces of nature itself. As such, they don't need to eat or drink. All right. They can be encountered anywhere throughout the multiverse. All right. Seeds. In the bowels of an ancient and abandoned wizard's tower, the party encounters a magma thrall. Magma thrall's creator died centuries ago, and the elemental spirit inhabiting the armor has been growing more and more enraged as the decades have passed. It will charge at the party as soon as it sees them. If the party can somehow convince the creature they can release it from bondage, it may hold off its attack. So there we have, again, a sort of an encounter. Am I back? I think I'm back. Sorry about that. So as I was trying to say, it's a cool encounter there in the bowels of something. Could be a wizard's tower, could be anywhere. I was just thinking about, right, if this thing is bound to someone who summons it, these things could get left behind in all kinds of interesting places wherever their creator happens to bite the dust. Let's get to the second seed. All right. The party happens across a strange tableau. They see an incredibly eerie swamp covering the whole of a small valley. The air is thick with a steamy, fetid miasma that induces nausea. The incessant drone of overfat flies makes speaking in a normal voice difficult. About a dozen or so magma thralls trudge through the muck, ceaselessly dispatching all manner of undead monstrosities that rise from the swamp. The swamp seems to be generating an endless stream of undead things, and the magma thralls are here to cut them down. That's an interesting concept. Doesn't really. The one thing I would like with that one is it's a great image, but now I wonder, well, how do they envision the party interacting with this scene? What are they there to do? What are the magma thralls doing? I suppose it's just stuff you have to take that and right, flesh it out. Right, what's happening there? Where are all these undead coming from? Clearly, there are two forces at work here. One that seems to be wanting to at least maintain the status quo, and something else that's trying to break the status quo. Loot. Magma thralls are unconcerned with the accumulation of wealth. This is especially true if they are still under the control of whoever summoned and bound them. However, their axe and armor are composed of a magically enhanced admin team that would likely be worth 4,000 or 5,000 gold pieces together. There you go. All right, so we got, let me switch back. Makari. Ooh, it's kind of a Drider sort of looking thing. Except it's got its arms end in spidery things rather than human arms. It also looks like I don't want to maybe read too much into the graphic, but is it ladies, or are they just showing that it could be a lady, or is it just, A man. Cool. It's got a weird head that looks like it's just a smile. One big smiling mouth. Don't like it. No, sir. Well, I mean, it's a great monster, but yeah, I wouldn't want to see one of those. Savart Jotuns is some kind of giant. Another, see, 4 arms. I kind of like the look. I like its head. All right. Urgul, another fiend. And the Zosar, is that the last one? Oh, okay. So I was going to say maybe I'll do one more. Here we got the appendix. I'm just going to select, okay, that's the OGL. Don't need to spend any time there. All right. So I'll do the Zosara because I just love that. Look at that. You know, that's like something my daughter would think up. I mean, she couldn't draw it like that, but her love of unicorns and things, if you just turn that love to an evil place, and yeah, that's what you get. I really hope that those spikes on the belt have some kind of usage. Let's see what it's all about. Ah, cool. The Zosara, huge Fae, chaotic evil, AC 16, bunch of hit points, 60 feet speed. It's definitely strong, fairly hardy, very smart and wise. Whoa, really good charisma. Not that good dex, interestingly enough. All right, immune to a bunch of damages, immune to some conditions. It's got true sight. Can speak abyssal, common, draconic, primordial, and sylvan. CR 15. It's got some features. The Zosara emanates a strange form of necrotic energy that saps the life force of people and animals, but spurs vegetation to unwholesome and twisted growth. At the start of each of the Zosara's turns, each creature within 30 feet of it takes, 10 necrotic damage and must succeed on a DC 18 Constitution saving throw or be exhausted until leaving the area of effect. This damage heals the Zosara by the same amount. Any sources of flame within a 500-foot radius will change to a sickly green illumination and become unable to damage vegetation within this area of effect. All right, hold on. So it's got this 30-foot aura that hurts you, heals it, and then any flames kind of turn green and then can't hurt any vegetation. I mean, just the turning green is just kind of cool, just as a visual. I mean, I guess who knows where you encounter it, but if it's at night and the things in your flame turns green, and of course you can yell out green flame, it's all good. So that's cool. All right, it's got some innate spell casting. At will, darkness, pass without trace, and silence. 3 times a day, misty step, spike, growth, fog, cloud. Once a day, awaken, wall of thorns, plant growth. So it's got very plant related powers. And because of its aura, you can't burn the plants with flames. Though I don't know if in a combat situation, that really the first thing the party can do is try to burn down the stuff. I mean, I suppose players always love to burn things, but not sure about that. But still, cool nonetheless. It's got multi-attack, 2 attacks, withering claws. The Zosara's unarmed attacks are magical. Got 10-foot reach. Gives out necrotic damage. It's got some legendary actions, 3 of them. Well, it can take 3, and it looks like it has 2, unless it goes on to the next page. Only 1 legendary action option can be used at a time, and only at the end of another creature's turn. Right, the Zosara regains spent legendary actions at the start of its turn. Okay, Psychic Drain, which costs 2. 1 creature within 120 feet must succeed on an intelligence saving throw or take 20 psychic damage. And the Zosara regains hit points equal to the damage the creature takes. Yeesh, that's a bit brutal. And then it can cast a spell, animate dead, invisibility, Dimension door. So this thing's got a lot of tricks. You can have a lot of fun with that, but man, feels like this could be dangerous to the wrong party. But of course, it is CR15, so it's not supposed to be a slouch. What am I? Hello? What are you doing? Did it change my? There we go. Okay. Got another look at it. Read the description. A huge demonic humanoid with the head of a wizened, fanged unicorn. The thing stands about 4 times the height of a man. It has a faint green luminescence about it, as if a nimbus of eldritch corruption emanates from its weirdling flesh. Ooh, that's some rich description right there. It's like a ladle full of rich soup, word soup. Its long arms end in vicious-looking, filth-caked claws. An indescribable scent of rot and woe drifts from it. What is the scent of woe? I'd like to know, but I'm sure it doesn't smell good. Its mere presence seems to sap your vitality and make your bones ache. Ooh. No, thank you. Don't need aching bones. All right. Clearly a malignant creature, it does not seem immediately hostile. In fact, it beckons for the party to come closer. It calls out to them in a cheerful and strangely melodic greeting. I suppose that's its charisma. Going to try to draw it into its radius of that aura and keep them there as long as possible. Makes sense. It usually avoids melee until any potential threat is significantly weakened. Also makes sense. All right, let's get into the lore of these things, because this is what I really want to know. These creatures are malignant archfey from some shadowy nether realm where the unseelie court holds sway. They are known as Zosara. These fallen and corrupt nature spirits have power over decay and are able to drain the vital energy from animal life. Not only does this act of vampirism heal them, but they can also channel this energy to dramatically spur plants to unwholesome growth and grant them consciousness. Ooh, I like that. They can also use the stolen life force to create undead. I also like that. It doesn't really talk about that in their powers, though. So maybe or I don't know if that was in some of the spells they can cast, but cool. In addition to their ability to steal life and manipulate plants, they can teleport, turn invisible, and steal additional life energy via targeted psychic attacks upon individuals within their line of sight. Their flesh is also highly resilient to damage from non-magical weapons that are not silvered. The sole motivation of Zosara is the corruption of the natural world. If they had their way, they would remake the world into some vast, silent, nightmarish forest. And here we get into the ecology. Zosara are holy. I don't know why they have comma there. Zosara are holy supernatural beings and do not possess a normal physiology. They can subsist with or without such mundane necessities as food, water, air, or sleep. These creatures also possess no life cycle to speak of. They do not age, mate, or rear offspring in the traditional sense. Some sages speculate that Zosara will begin to weaken if denied the life force of animals, but this has never been proven. They are native to the planes of shadow. They can be encountered anywhere in the multiverse. Well, and there is more, but I will just leave that because I want to get down to the seeds. See the seeds that we can plant with these Zosara. The first one. The party has gotten Start over again. The party has gotten word of an archdruid driven mad after the murder of his entire order. In pursuit of vengeance, the archdruid has made a pact with the Zosara and summoned it to our plane. Between the vast magical power of the two of them, they have set about corrupting the land and turning it into a perpetual twilight mirror of the plane of shadow. Whole villages have succumbed to the creeping darkness. The call has gone out for heroes to fight the encroaching blight. Woo! That's like a campaign seed. And since the CR15, I could see a low-level party starting with that and having to work their way up to finally being able to take down the Archdruid and the Zosara, or figuring out something else. And obviously, it's only kind of hinted in there, but because the Archdruid is driven mad, maybe there's some way you can, that trope of somehow you can reach through the madness, Luke to Darth Vader kind of thing. get him back as an ally in the 11th hour. I like it. And then the second one, Zosara has been wreaking havoc in a nearby kingdom. It's assumed that the horrific thing was summoned by some potent and malignant magic, but this might not be the case. Ooh, irregardless. No, irregardless. Regardless, the kingdom's coffers are wide open to any heroes willing to save them from the monster. Also be an adventure. I don't know if I suppose it could be a campaign too, given its high level. If this starts low enough, but presumably at that point, it's such an active threat that you'd think that's really an adventure for an already mid to high level party. Or I guess mid level in the 5e sense, right? CR 15. So they're, yeah, I guess. And then finally, onto the loot. Zosaras are inherently magical beings and are greatly interested in the acquisition of magical lore and items. It's recommended they have at least one legendary item, such as a Staff of the Magi, a crystal ball of telepathy, or possibly even a ring of 3 wishes. Additional lesser items, such as a mantle of spell resistance and a cube of force, might be advisable as well. They will likely have 1d3 rare scrolls or potions of your choice. Zosara tend to have little actual wealth, but may have 1d3 suitable esoteric baubles, such as a golden orb etched in some foreign language. Such items will usually total about 500 pieces in value. All right. I'm just go back to that. I'm just going to go back to that picture. Look at that. Now, again, I guess the thorns on its belt kind of tell you something about the vegetation, right? If you think of thorns representing sort of monstrous, mean vegetation. But man, if it had some kind of, I suppose, like you give it to it, some kind of ability to embrace something and just pull it into those thorns to impale it, that would have been cool. It's still a very cool monster. Well, that, my friends, is Creature Feature Quarterly Volume 6. Go back to the front as I speed through this. There we go. I think we said what it's. How many did we say it was? My brain in its perennial fog does not remember. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 critters. As I mentioned, I really like these. I guess just to kind of wrap on this, I like them. I think the illustrations are great. I like the fact that they give you a little thing to scale it. I might change the organization of things a little bit. I kind of like reading. I almost feel like I kind of like reading some of the lore stuff, description stuff first, and then get to the stat block. But obviously, over time, once you've kind of used them multiple times, maybe you just want to get to the stat block fast. I don't know if there's a different way to organize it. Maybe, but it's really good. I dig it. I mean, if I was gonna ding it, just being picky, I might say that there are a few of these that kind of seem to fill similar things. Creatures seem kind of similar. I might have like maybe a little bit more of a variety, but I don't know. It's hard to argue because over time you just build up a whole library of these things to pull out. And I also get it from a creator perspective. Sometimes you're just on a roll with certain kinds of creatures, and so you just kind of go down that path and explore it, and then go on to the next one. But I think there's certainly things I could use here. These seem to probably, well, I mean, the CR level, right? They're maybe more top heavy or high level heavy, but it's debatable. I think the lowest ones were CR3, and the highest ones I think is CR21. So I guess it does kind of go through the whole range. But there it is. I will find. Let me pull up the link to the Kickstarter if you like this, and you can also get them on drive-through. I will. Let me just put this in here. Let's see, Creature Feature Volume 7 on Kickstarter. There. Let me pull up the drive-through in a second, and I can get the link. I probably, these are the things like, geez, wouldn't it have made sense to find the link? Let's see, J. Hillos. I'll do creature feature. I find this. Am I the only one that finds the search on drive through just a little bit wonky? Is that just me? I mean, it could just be me. Feel free to let me know it is just me, and then it works exactly to how it should. But I don't know. I always kind of like a couple times when I've looked up, let me send somebody to find BX on drive through. It's always, I feel like it's always weird to search for that. It never seems to come up when I think it should. All right, hold on. I'm getting that link for you. Getting that link. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. Just putting it in my shortener. All right. And I will put these links in the description as well. Creature feature on drive through RPG. All right. And I will add those. I'm using Restream, which I've never used before, so it's kind of another first. So I apologize if there's any kind of weirdness with that as well. Seems to be working all right so far. Hard to tell. But I like the other one. I like this one. There's definitely a certain style, but I kind of like it. It has that, I don't know, the illustrations have that sort of, maybe it's just because it's the black and white ink style work that I like. It has kind of that OSR sort of vibe to me, which I always find appealing. But they're cool. I think there's I think I just saw there was 5 days left on the Kickstarter. 5 days to go. How much is it? Let's see. Let's just see. Just to okay. It's the $4 for the PDF, $25 on the Kickstarter to get all of them. And that's it. I guess it's just these are just digital. So probably a good deal. Well, let me go back to, so if you go to drive through each one, okay, so the existing creature features are $7 on drive through, but $4 will get you this one here. $25 will get you all of them. And that includes 6 and 7, or 1 through 6 plus this one. So that's 7 for $25, which is, what, under $4, or what was it? I don't know. One of my, yeah, under $4, right? So really good deal if you like them. It's an independent. It's good, compatible with 5th edition if you're a 5th edition GM. And if you go to the Kickstarter, it's got pictures of a bunch of the stuff. Yeah, I like it. I hope you did too. I'm going to try to get more streams going just in general. Get back into the swing of putting them out. So hopefully there will be more of these. I have to do a large one on I won't spoil it yet, but I have to do there's going to be one come up that's going to be massive, because the source book I'll be covering is, I don't know, over 300 pages. I'm not exactly sure I'm going to do it in one sitting. Maybe I can't. Maybe I can. That reminds me, I still didn't even finish. Was it Fallen Lands? I got to try to go back and finish, but as far as streaming, COVID's kind of kicked my butt in that respect. But I'm going to try to get back into it. Hey, everybody who hung with me so far on this, thanks so much for watching and listening in. I am going to take off. As usual, I'm trying to get over the hump of 1,000 subscribers on YouTube in particular. So it really helps if you want to give the thumbs up. If you enjoy these, please subscribe to the channel. Just help me reach my tiny, tiny little goal. But regardless, have a great rest of your day. And if you're watching this later, day, night, afternoon, whatever, Game on. Talk to you later.